Welcome back. The curious case of Jean Charles taking center stage in a Supreme Court today. The hearing prompted by a writ of habeas corpus filed by Rights Bahamas president and Jean Charles's attorney, Queen's Counsel Fred Smith. The story captured headlines after Mr. Smith was told that his Bahamian-born client had been deported to Haiti. This after being picked up during a routine status check on Fire Trail Road. At the time, he was asked to produce his documents, which he failed to do, leading to his being held at the Jamaica Road Detention Center. Now, in his opening submission before Supreme Court Justice Gregory Hilton today, Mr. Smith argued that the return filed by the Department of Immigration on December 8th does not lawfully justify his client's arrest or detention. Further, that the case is not complicated as the arrest was either lawful or it wasn't. The court also heard that the documents the department presented for Jean Charles had a conflicting birth date from the certificate provided by his family. Mr. Smith added that this highlights whether the person the Immigration Department refers to as Jean Charles is actually Jean Charles. He went on to argue that the respondents themselves have yet to produce a deportation order for Jean deportation, adding that they admit his client is Bahamian based on a repatriation list that states his birthplace as Nassau, Bahamas. Countering for the Crown was Gary Francis, who said the writ was flawed as the law requires that an affidavit be made and the third person must state why the person cannot make it him or herself. This, then, he said, makes the application erroneous and defective and should be dismissed by the court. Mr. Francis also stressed that the Department of Immigration is unable to bring back the man in question as he is out of the jurisdiction, and asking the government to extract this individual from a foreign country was a nearly impossible task. He added that ultimately the information provided by Jean Charles was meant to deceive officials and unfortunately led to his deportation. But Mr. Smith disagreed, arguing that there is no sworn affidavit by the respondents or airplane manifesto to confirm if Jean was actually flown out. The matter has been adjourned for ruling. In other news, this evening, the government spent in excess of $1.5 billion to deliver goods and services, begging the need for there to be value for money, transparency, and accountability in terms of how these transactions are conducted. To do so, it's changing up the way people and businesses bid for government contracts. And according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Peter Turnquest, here's where the government stands on making that happen.
We are well advanced in the update of the 2010 Public Procurement Bill and intend early next year to introduce a brand new Procurement Bill 2018 for the consideration of Parliament. This bill will call for the establishment of a fully digital procurement platform and its attendant electronic vendor registry system. The enactment of the Public Procurement Bill 2018, scheduled for early in the upcoming year, will strengthen the regulatory framework around government's procurement.
Now, the bill clears the way for a public procurement department, a board, as well as a tribunal. The latter would offer some recourse for those who believe they have been unjustly dealt with during the tendering process.
All bid forms are time-stamped, which prevents interference from those who might be inclined to act outside the scope or their scope after the close of a bid. And every action taken by government personnel within the system is tracked.
The government anticipates that these measures will increase competition and accountability, leading to savings to you, the taxpayers.
This enabling mechanism affords even the smallest vendor an opportunity to participate in business opportunities with the government, creating substantial new opportunities for Bahamian small businesses.
The country torn on a hot-button issue that an international expert believes should be outlawed. In this report, our Jillian Gray tells us where two cabinet ministers stand on marital rape.
It was the UN's Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, Dubravka Simonovic, who placed renewed focus on the issue during her visit here last week. In her assessment, she openly encouraged the government to change the Bahamas' position on marital rape. Though slammed upon in many circles, marital rape still not a crime here, save for exceptional circumstances. The issue has again sparked a discussion that even government ministers like Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest and Social Services Minister Lanisha Roll are weighing in on.
Well, my personal belief is that no man has the right to force himself upon any woman, whether married or not.
Well, certainly we do not support any form of violence against women. That is the stance that the country has taken. Certainly I'm one that supports that. In relation to marital rape, I've always said that it is an issue that is private. It can become public, but we want to start where marriage is sacred and marriage is private.
It's an issue that Minister Roll feels demands public consensus.
So if we're going to legislate something like that, it must be something where we have the wide support of the community. Okay, because we want to protect the privacy of individuals and of marriages, and that's very, very important. And don't forget, it's not only rape against women, there's also rape against men. A lot of people don't know that. Many times when men go and report that, they're laughed at, they say. And so we have to look at this from a wider perspective. We can't look one side, but there are two that makes a relationship.
And it's a debate the Deputy Prime Minister says he's open to having.
I think it is something that we need to look at. You know, there is this argument from the Christian community, or I shouldn't say the Christian community, from some churches with respect to this right. I don't necessarily share that view, and I apologize if that offends anybody, but I just don't share that view. I think that, again, each of us has an inalienable right to decide for ourselves and to protect ourselves. And to the extent that, somebody forces somebody else on the other, I think there ought to be consequences for that.
In 2009, the Ingram administration sought to criminalize all forms of marital rape. For JCN News, I'm Jillian Gray.
After protests, calls, and letters to the minister, the Bahamas Public Services Union is finally making some inroads in its push to get laid-off gaming board workers what they deserve. Labor Minister Dion Folks telling reporters outside Cabinet this morning that having met with the BPSU at length on Monday, he understands its concerns.
They have 5 major issues that I intend to raise with the gaming board tomorrow. I've requested an urgent meeting with them tomorrow afternoon. 1 or 2 of their board members, there are only 4, 1 or 2 of them are out of the country. So if the meeting comes off tomorrow, hopefully I'll be able to have that discussion with them.
Gaming Board Chairman Kenyatta Gibson noted in a release several weeks back that severe overstaffing coupled with the need to ensure the future viability of the board as an effective regulator led to the sacking of 30 gaming employees. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.